And it will be led by your board of directors. They are the governing entity of this association. I am Corey Hampton, the chair of that board of directors. I'm one of 9 elected and voting members of the board. The 10th member of the board of directors is our executive director, Melissa Webb. So this is the second year that we've done a virtual AGM, separate from and following our annual conference gathering. The primary reason that we made this change from an in-person meeting at the conference to a virtual and recorded one was to increase the ability for all ACT International members to be able to receive these updates, regardless of their location or time zone. So, as we proceed with this meeting, board members may call on others to contribute, as well as ask and answer questions. But until that time, please kindly mute your microphone so as to reduce the possibility of distractions. We do have an agenda here, as you can see, to keep us on track. And in the ACT events page where you registered for this event, there is a resources tab with documents, including that agenda, and also some committee and staff reports and a number of links that we will be referencing during the meeting. All of those resources will be available after this meeting as well, so that you can review them further on your own time. During the meeting today, the chat feature will be open and we will have folks monitoring that. So please feel free to ask questions there or raise your hand during the Q&A portions of our agenda. We'll do our best to get to all of your questions as time allows. The total time allotted for today's AGM is 90 minutes. And since we've already burned a few of those minutes, I'd like to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn it over now to Alicia Burke, the vice chair of your ACT International Board of Directors, to read our mission statement.
Thanks, Corey. The ACT mission statement. The Association for Challenge Course Technology establishes and promotes the standard of care and measure of excellence that defines professional practice and effective challenge course programs. ACT develops, refines, and publishes standards for installing, maintaining, and managing challenge courses, provides forums for education and professional development, and advocates for the challenge course and adventure industry. I'll pass it to Eric for the antitrust statement.
Great. So this is your Choose Your Challenge. Corey chooses me to be challenged every year to read in public, which is my least favorite thing in the world to do, unlike speaking in public, which I'm really comfortable with. So the antitrust statement. It is the policy of the Association for Challenge Course Technology, and it is the responsibility of every association member company to comply in all respects with federal and state antitrust laws of the United States. No activity or discussion at any association meeting or other function may be engaged in for the purpose of bringing about any understanding or agreement among members to raise, lower, or stabilize prices, regulate production, allocate markets, encourage boycotts, foster unfair trade practices, assist monopolization, or in any way violate federal or state antitrust laws. Any questions regarding the meaning or applicability of this policy, as well as any concerns regarding activities or discussions at the association meetings, should be promptly brought to the attention of the executive director, Melissa, or the chair of the board of directors, that's Corey. Thank you all.
Thank you, Alicia and Eric. Nice job. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to review and approve the meeting agenda. Can I get a board member to make that
motion?
Great. So made. Somebody like to second that?
I can second that.
Thank you, Alicia. Okay, so the plan for today, for those of you that have pulled this agenda up on your own, please feel free to do that. I'm not sure we'll leave it on the screen during the entire meeting, but I'll review it now just so you kind of have an idea of what the plan is. So a couple of things are going to happen today. We're going to get a report from the vice chair of the board of directors, a report from the chair, a report from the treasurer, and a report from the executive director. we will have opportunity for questions, as I mentioned, and we'll cover a couple of sort of housekeeping things, share some details with you for moving forward for next year. And that's kind of the gist of the plan. Is there any other discussion amongst the board for this motion? Okay, hearing none, is anybody opposed to today's agenda? And is anybody abstaining? Cool. Motion carries. We have an approved agenda, so let's get to it. Once again, I'm going to turn it over to your ACT International Vice Chair, Alicia Burke.
Thank you. First, John, can you pin the board? Oh, they're at the top. Beautiful. We want to go around and have the board members introduce themselves so you can put a face to the name, and then mention what committee or group they liaison with. So I can start. My name is Alicia Burke. I'm the vice chair. I liaison with the Leadership and Nomination Committee.
Well, I can go next to Corey Hampton, Board Chair, and I liaison with the Board Emeritus.
Well, I'll go. I'm Eric Martyr. I am the treasurer, and I work with the finance committee.
I'm Lori, and I am liaison to the Insurance and Risk Management Committee.
Hi, I'm Jason. I'm liaison to the International Committee.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leslie Soul, she, her, hers, and I am a member at large. I liaison with the TIRE, Technical Information Research and Education Committee. I also just wanted to make note that Mike Smith just joined us and is not yet pinned.
Mike, are you in a place where you can talk? No, he was on a job. Mike is our board secretary, and he liaisons with our consensus group. Am I right with that?
Now consensus body. Yeah.
Consensus body. We are also missing Kennerly DeForest, and he liaisons with our accredited vendors, and JJ Stapleton, who liaisons with our accredited operators. Oh, there's Mike.
Oh, Mike.
All his PPE. Wonderful. So at the end of our conference, Eric Martyr and Jason Ong were reelected for their second term, and we said goodbye to Rohan Shahani, who served 6 years on the board, did some incredible work for the association. So we'd just like to recognize him and extend our gratitude for his service. Next, we would like to recognize all our accredited members. So those are our accredited operators and accredited vendors. These are companies that go through a rigorous review process, assessing their alignment with ACT standards. And I think we have a video to play, just mentioning all of those companies. Maybe. No, all right.
Well, there it goes. I was gonna say, we got it. Nice.
Awesome. So a warm welcome to any accredited member representatives that are here today. Lastly, we want to recognize, or I want to point you to that resource tab that Corey had mentioned. In there are the committee reports. If you have already reviewed them and have questions, we're going to save that for the end, just so we can make sure to get through some business. If you review them later and you have questions about anything, feel free to reach out to the appropriate board member liaison for that committee. And then you may also notice that there has been some changes to our organizational structure with the addition of some staff work groups and dissolution of some committees. And Melissa will be covering that in more detail during her ED report. So with that, I think I will pass it to Corey.
Great. So Alexis and the Academy Development Work Group are helping us monitor the chat. Alexis, just a quick check-in if we got anything we need to answer just yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Well, folks, let us know again if you have any questions. We'll have some time at the end as well for that. So like to talk to you a little bit about the work of the board from this previous term. Going to start with the conference that we just wrapped up at this year's annual conference in Cleveland, Ohio, in the US of A. We had 634 conference attendees, 45 exhibiting companies with 49 booths, and 3 sponsors that were absolutely critical to making this event happen. We had one after-hours networking sponsorship from Granite Insurance. We had an event team apparel sponsor, Landway Apparel, and a lanyard sponsorship from Syngenuity. So on behalf of ACT International, I want to extend our deepest gratitude to our conference sponsors and thank them for their support. Next up, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Board Emeritus. Earlier, Alicia talked about all the amazing volunteers that make up your ACT International Board of Directors. It is my pleasure as your board chair to liaison with another board at ACT, the Board Emeritus. So the Board Emeritus status is an honor granted to ACT members who've provided dedicated and distinguished service to the mission of ACT International over many years of service and through numerous contributions. The Board Emeritus act as advisors to the ACT Board of Directors and are an invaluable resource for our association. In January 2025, at the recent conference, the board conferred emeritus status on Bob Bryan when Jim Wall rolled off and was thanked for his service. That makes your current Board Emeritus Brian Lisson, Ken Jaco, Michelle Hepler, Josh Todd, and Bob Bryan. So on behalf of ACT International, I want to extend our deepest gratitude to our Board Emeritus for their wisdom and steadfast guidance. Next, I'd like to talk about the work of the ACT International Board of Directors over this past year. My full report is in the resources folder that we mentioned earlier, but I want to highlight 3 of what I believe to be our most important accomplishments, and then briefly open the floor to questions. So first, the ACT bylaws. Following ongoing discussions with the board over the past 3 years, significant changes were made to the ACT International bylaws in the October meeting of the Board of Directors. That's October 2024. These changes updated and altered the Board of Directors voting structure, giving voting rights to accredited operators, in addition to our accredited vendors, as well as to the many individuals that are in sub-account seats. If you don't recognize that lingo, what we're talking about is those people that are on an organization's membership roster that aren't the principal owner of that company. So we added sub-account seats to all of our member company accounts. So none of those members have previously had a voice in determining who leads the association. So we felt like that was a really important change, and we're really excited about that. The voting period that concluded at the 2025 annual conference was the first time that ACT members voted using this new structure. And I'm really happy to report that voter participation was significantly higher than in previous years. And we're optimistic that those numbers will continue to increase in subsequent years. And you can help us with that. Get the word out to all the newly eligible voters out there, whether they're in your company or you meet them and have a conversation with them. It's really important that we all know we have the opportunity to vote. So pretty cool changes there. The other one I wanted to talk a little bit about is standards development. So the Accredited Procedures Task Force, consisting of members of the Board of Directors, the Consensus Group, Technical Information Research and Education Committee, or TIRE, and the staff updated the accredited procedures, which are the framework for how we develop our standards. ANSI approved the revised procedures in August 2024, and a new Accredited Procedures Task Force, or APTF2, it's the reboot. It's in the process of populating members. For the purposes, this task force will be created for the purposes to have a more detailed guiding document that will help improve the clarity and transparency of our standards development process as we move forward. And we're pretty excited about that. Call for volunteers actually went out in today's newsletter. So if you're interested in that kind of work, we hope you'll put in an application to join us on that task force. Third thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is the accredited company forums, quarterly chairs calls, open office hours, things like that. So the bylaws changes drastically expanded representation for more ACT International members to participate in our voting process. And the important changes to our accredited procedures that I talked about are designed to increase stakeholder participation and transparency in our standards development process. But we didn't stop there, because in an ongoing and very concerted intentional effort to increase transparency, broaden representation, and improve communication, we've implemented 3 other initiatives: those quarterly accredited company forums, the chairs calls, and the monthly open office hours. If you haven't heard about these or participated in them, a couple of things. Each quarter, we're meeting with the accredited vendors and accredited operators to promote discussion and solicit feedback from those key member companies. We're also meeting quarterly with the leadership of all our volunteer groups to better coordinate and collaborate our efforts amongst that incredible group of people. We may be a staff-driven association, but the volunteers are the engine that makes it possible to get where we want to go. And the quarterly chairs calls are helping us make sure that we're all on the same road. Okay, and then also there are my mostly monthly open office hours calls. I'm often joined by staff and other board members on these calls. They are open, they're informal, there's no agenda. It is for all members to join. Anytime you want to come chat with us. Occasionally the volunteers or the groups of volunteers will present knowledge, lead us in an activity. But there's always time for questions and conversation with leadership. And we always try to have a little bit of fun, because, you know, fun is one of the core values of this association. Some of my favorite in that vein, some of my favorite recent open office hours have included standards trivia, which was hosted by a tire committee. That one came with a prize. That one was pretty cool. Beer tasting and beer trivia night, which was hosted by Board Emeritus Chair Brian Lisson and ACT staff member Brittany Humphrey. Good times had by all there. We've also done a wine tasting and wine 101 with Kennerly DeForest, one of our board members. And then there was the all-important Meet the Board Candidates Forum, which we did again this year, just prior to the start of the voting period. So that's kind of three of, I think, one of our most important work accomplishments for this year. But looking forward to this upcoming term, we're going to continue to work through our strategic plan. We've recently identified our top 3 board and staff priorities for this upcoming term. They are program implementation, focusing most importantly on the recently updated vendor accreditation program, the ACT standards, and the future of ACT events. So I'm sure there will be many other topics on our agendas in the coming year, but those 3 are going to be our focus as we move forward. Now, I want to open up the floor. I did see a few chats pop up. Are there any questions that you guys want to have answered?
There is one from Rick Call that just got posted in the chat.
Oh,
Any estimates or instances of impacts to operators stemming from Trump administration executive orders, edicts, firings, and budget cuts?
wow. That is a great question, Rick. I don't know the answer to that right now, but I'm gonna get back to you on that one. That one's a loaded question. But yeah, give me a minute on that one.
I think we
Um,
started to hoard pennies. I think that's what we're doing. We're having all operations collect all the pennies they can get and hold on to them as tight as they possibly can.
mhm. That's amazing. Okay, where are we at with ACT Academy? We do have some folks from ACT Academy with us. And we have of course, our staff member that acts as a liaison to Academy. Do either of you any of you want to take that question?
Sure. This is Alexis, and I'm the chair of ACT Academy, and we are off and running. We've got a few programs in the LMS, which is the learning management system, and we're getting going. So if anybody, we have, I think, 1 or 2 open seats and on the work group. And if anybody's interested in joining the work group to do the work, that'd be awesome. If you are interested in helping create content and be a presenter, let us know. We're actively making a form for that, and we'll be able to get that out to you guys soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexis. I don't see any other, let's see, questions. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, John. So John is mentioning that if you want to look at his staff report, there's some more information about that. Great. Awesome. Thanks. Next up, I'd like to turn it over to Eric, our ACT International Board member and treasurer. He also liaisons with the Finance Committee, and he's going to give us some updates on association finances.
All the good news. So all y'all have access to our quarterly reports, finances. They get posted on the website. Melissa will throw in the chat where we store those. Q2 is in there now. Q3 is done, but it's not buttoned up yet. So we're finishing up closing the accounting on Q3, and that one will come out. In there, we also have a cash flow statement. I'm going to go over the cash flow with you folks so we can kind of see where we're at. And then I also want to look at our last 3 years, how we ended up financially in the last 3 years, and then talk a little bit about our kind of what we're heading out for in the future. So hold on your seatbelts. I'm going to round these numbers up so that we don't have to deal with the pennies out there because they're scarce nowadays since we're heading in weird directions with them. I'm going to start with what we keep in our savings. We have a CD that we have about $56,244 that we store in there. It's a 6-month CD. It matures in a few months, and then we'll figure out what we're doing. We'll talk to the finance committee and see how we want to manage that moving forward. We have 2 money market accounts, one at $44,000, the other one at $41,000. And those ones we are moving to looking at closing up one of those because it's a bank we don't really use anymore and we're moving it around. Our checking account that we keep is sitting at $268,000, $655. So it's quite well where we want it. Our savings account, I'm going to give you 2 numbers on this. The first number is $266,000, which is what we keep in our savings account. There's a caveat to that, which is 169 of that is not really ours. That is part of the SBA loan that we'll need to pay back or keep a hold of. So we're trying to figure out right now what we're going to do with that and how long we're going to hold that and how we're going to manage that. It just started hitting interest in the last few months. That puts our total assets around $676,000. And then if we remove that SBA loan, that puts us about $507,000 in assets. That's excellent. It's great news. That has happened because some wonderful work of past board members and past treasurers and all of us together in our association, filling that account up and getting it nice and flush. that's important, and I bring that up because in 2023, you guys remember earlier than 2023, we don't mention those years, but that was the COVID time when we really spent money but didn't bring a lot in, and that was a big challenge for us. So 2023, we started getting ourselves back on track with conferences, something that looked more normal, visiting together, having conferences and whatnot. We lost in that year. I've mentioned this in the last 2 years, so this shouldn't be new news to you folks. In 2023, we had a deficit at the end of the year, 89,900. And then 2024, we had another deficit, but we looked better. That was 52,800. 2025, we don't too sure how we're ending up this year, but we have a really good working budget. So after the conference and all the dust settled, we have settled in that it kind of looks like we're going to lose about $44,000 this year. The bad news is we're taking a loss. We've seen it in most of our industry that things are a little tight right now around everybody in the industry for the most part. So we recognize this and we can see it coming. One of the things that most people don't understand about our association, most people get that the majority of our money comes in and goes out during our annual conference. What people don't understand is we have to plan that conference 2 to 3 years out, depending on what we're working on in the contract. So we get locked into fees and contractual agreements years and years out before we know how many people are going to come to the conference. And then we have to gas and budget how many people we think are going to come, how many people we think will sponsor, and how many people we think will set up booths. And then all of that goes into an incredibly complex process to figure out how much it all costs. It is not simple. Melissa has been doing an amazing job with the conference committee over the last few years of cutting costs as much as he possibly can while still making an amazing conference. So we're probably going to lose money this year. It looks like at around $44,000. Stay tuned for the exact amount on there till the end of the year. One of the things that Melissa's been able to do is renegotiate some of next year's conference to help us with this process. One of the things we've noticed over the years is that as we grew, we got too big for one building and too small for two buildings. At some points, we were just the right size for two buildings, and then we got a little smaller. So we kind of don't fit when we have a big, giant exhibit hall in a convention center, and right next door we have a hotel. So we're looking at how we manage that going forward, going back to how we used to do things a lot back in the pre-COVID days, when we would put everybody in one building and whatnot. This year's conference, my perspective is it was one of the best we've ever had. I've been to, I don't know how many of these things, 25, 27, something like that. And I do believe this is the best one. I love where we're going. I love where we're heading. I'm not happy that we've lost a little bit of money this year, but I like the trend to see that the amount that we're losing each year is going down. And we're getting better and smarter at what we're doing. I'm also thrilled with the amount of money that we have as a financial asset right now of $507,000. Q3, when it gets done, it'll get posted so you guys can read those things and it'll get posted online on our website. Cool. That's all I got.
I did notice that Kennerly made it. Apologies, folks. We have a couple of board members that are in the field this week because we're all working professionals, and just wanted to point out that Kennerly is one of our board members, and he is here if he wants to say hello. If he is hanging from a tree, we'll forgive him that. Yeah, if you want to say hello, the floor is yours before we pass it over to Melissa.
Good afternoon, everybody.
There he is.
I am a friendly neighborhood board member. So thanks, Corey, for the opportunity. And I apologize for being a few minutes late.
No worries. Just glad you're here. All right. So let's kick it over to Melissa. Oh, Eric, did you want to provide an opportunity for questions now or save that till later? Before I do?
Either one. I didn't see if there's any questions that popped up. Are there any?
I haven't seen any. I did see from one of our finance committee members a clarification for folks that don't know how our fiscal year works at ACT International. The end of the year is actually June 30th. Our fiscal year starts again July 1. So Q3 is 3/4 of the way through. That ended at the end of March. So just a quick clarification. Thank you. All right. Melissa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Melissa Webb, the Executive Director for ACT International. Have the pleasure of liaising with the awards program work group, the conference work group, government relations work group, and to be a part of the compliance process along with our board chair, Corey Hampton. I also participated in the Accredited Procedures Task Force 1 and plan to be a part of the Accredited Procedures Task Force 2. I have the distinct pleasure of working with some amazing staff. Brittany Humphrey, our Outreach and Engagement Coordinator that we brought on just a little over a year ago. She is the staff liaison to our membership work group, as well as our PR and marketing work group. And she also has taken the lead on our exhibitor and sponsor support for our annual conference. Heather Brooks is our program manager. Heather liaises with the program work group, and she also oversees accreditation and certification programs along with that group. John Vogelin is our office manager and the secretary to our consensus body. He is the staff liaison to the Academy Development Work Group and participated as well in the Accredited Procedures Task Force 1 and intends to join us as well for the Accredited Procedures Task Force 2. In addition to our full-time staff, I have the pleasure of working with some additional independent contractors. Laura Valdez, who is our accountant. I meet with Laura weekly for our ED meetings. I also meet with her with our staff monthly to review working budget numbers and future months projections, as well as quarterly with the finance committee. We also have Laura Pertzer Smith, who was a new independent contractor that we brought on board this year to assist us with conference support. She's officially, her title is the conference project manager. She works very closely with ACT staff and the conference work group to manage the annual conference logistics and all of our venue support on site. In addition to those folks, I work with Kristen Vines with GMI Worldwide, or GMI Global, I apologize. She's also an independent contractor that we work with for our site selection, helping us to secure the home for all of our annual conferences. In addition to those folks, we do have another organization that we work with from time to time, the Accounting Department for Nonprofits. It's an independent contractor relationship, and those folks provide us with our CPA support as needed and assist us in filing our 990. A couple of updates that I want to share with y'all about some of the different things that have happened throughout the year. The awards program work group is a group that's comprised of all of the staff and a few other volunteers. We do have open spots on that work group, so if anybody's interested in being a part of that, we would love to have you join us. This year, that group took the initiative to add a few new award categories. We added the Innovator of the Year, which was awarded this year for the first time, to Bryson Hale. We also added the Mover of Mountains Award, which was awarded to Rohan Shahani. The presentation for all of those awards, as well as all of the additional acknowledgements that we have been awarding throughout the year, were recognized during our annual conference. We launched the ACCT Memoriam Project this year to honor individuals who have made significant contributions to our community but have passed away at some point throughout the year. For more information on that, someone will be sharing a link in the chat. If you are aware of any of these individuals who have had a significant influence on you or other organizations you are a part of, we want to make sure that we're properly recognizing those individuals. So please contribute to that as you are able to, so that we can continue to acknowledge the amazing things that these individuals do for our community. Some additional updates, the Academy Development Work Group, I mentioned in the chat that I would get to a couple of other updates for that group. 2024 was focused on team organization. The staff developed a checklist for the Academy Development Work Group members to guide them through content loading into the LMS. John Vogelin is the staff liaison to that group. Throughout this year, Christina Riggs and Alexis Webb Bechtold have served as the chair for the Academy Development chairs for the Academy Development Work Group. Christina has stepped down. She has fulfilled term limits, but she is still an active member of the Academy Development Work Group. She's just no longer acting chair. Christina, thank you very much for all of your contributions as part of the member education panel and Academy, and we look forward to continuing to work with you as we move forward. Task forces will be formed for some short-term projects within the Academy work group. Those will be led by either staff or an Academy Development Work Group member pending the project. We will be reviewing, or we are currently reviewing, all of the content from our 2021 virtual conference for relevancy for the LMS. We are in the process of uploading some of the demystifying standards sessions that were a part of the pre-cons for our 2021 conference. We're currently assessing all other session recordings. And if relevant, we will be reaching out to presenters from those for their consent for us to share that content in our learning management system. We're also partnering with some outside experts to host content in the learning management system. And we are looking to launch a crisis management series on how to handle events like natural disasters and what to do when bad things happen. So keep an eye out for some more information on how to register and participate in those sessions that will be coming. Heather has worked very extensively on loading program content into the learning management system. You can see the specifics of all the different things that she has been working on via her staff report that's in the resources tab. Some of the things that she's been hard at work on are the inspector certification exam prep course, getting that loaded into the learning management system, as well as the inspector certification exam. We have officially hosted one testing event in there. We are looking forward to hosting additional testing events in the future. We have also launched the vendor auditor training in the learning management system, and the qualified course professional updates and draft concepts can also now be found in the learning management system. And in addition to all of those things, we are actively in discussion with the Colorado State University of Pueblo about offering CEU credits through our learning management software. Some event changes that I just want to call out. This year, we used our association management platform for our registration. So we used our Novi platform for the attendee registration. That was the first time that we've been able to do that. We got really good feedback from people who went through that process. It certainly streamlined a lot of things on our side to not have multiple different platforms we were working with. Some additional platforms that we worked with this year for events that integrate with Nogi. We used MapD for our exhibitor and sponsor management. We used a platform called Session Board for our workshop management. We will be using, for sure, Session Board again. So if you are interested in or presenting at our upcoming conference, communication from the workshop coordinators will be coming through Session Board again. We also used an app called Mobile Up, which seemed to be work very well. We had very minor glitches with that and seemed to be an effective tool for our attendees on site. As Eric mentioned, the future of ACCT events has been identified as a board priority for the coming fiscal year. We're closely assessing changes in the events landscape. For the upcoming conference in Oklahoma City, as Eric indicated, we will be going back to hosting that event in a hotel exclusively. We will not be in a convention center, and we are going to be holding ongoing discussions about the long-term event strategy. We are currently looking at a location for our 2027 conference that allows us a lot of flexibility without overcommitment. An additional initiative that we took on this year was branding and website alignment project. You've been hearing about that in various different forums, but with the rebranding efforts that we started with the filing of our DBA Act International, we worked with a consultant to update the logo, create a style guide, and support a website alignment initiative. The new logo was introduced at the conference, and new graphics are going to continue to be implemented in various different ways throughout this coming year. The website's information architecture is under review, and changes are being made on a staging site currently for review before launch. So very soon, I hope, we will be relaunching our website, and I hope will be a much more user-friendly experience for you. Please be patient with us, kind of an under construction thing. We are going to be assessing all of that information and looking at it very closely before we go live with that, but that is the next phase of this project. We also launched an e-commerce store to sell ACT branded merchandise. The store link will be shared with y'all in the chat here in just a moment. And along with all of these other branding changes, we are in the process of doing an overhaul on our newsletter. And with that, if you have any educational content that you'd like to contribute to the ACT newsletter that is relevant for our entire community and not a solicitation, we would absolutely love to consider that. And please email that to Brittany. If someone could drop her email in the chat, or Brittany, if you wouldn't mind, that would be awesome. We are becoming a more and more staff-driven association. You heard at the beginning of this that we have made some changes to some of our operational structure for this association. We dissolved the Accreditation and Certification Committee, which previously reported to the board and formed the program work group, which now reports to Heather Brooks, our ACT program manager. Additionally, we dissolved the Compliance Committee and overhauled the compliance process, which is now overseen by myself, the Executive Director, as well as Corey Hampton, our Chair of the Board of Directors. And we also recently dissolved our Government Relations Committee and have transitioned that into a staff work group, which will also be overseen by the Executive Director, myself, and our Board Chair, Corey Hampton. So now that I've given you all a handful of updates about some of the amazing things that we all have been working on, there are some things that we could use some community support with. We currently have a membership survey that is live through the end of February. If you haven't completed it yet, please do so. Your responses will help us make informed decisions to be able to better serve you. The survey link will be getting shared here in the chat momentarily. Again, it's open through the end of February, so you've still got time, and your response and your information that you share on that is critical. I know I've indicated this a lot with conference surveys, but we truly take that feedback to heart, and we want to hear from you. So please take the time to complete that. In addition to that, we're seeking some support in updating our regulatory map. We've moved it to a new site and updated its format for easier use. If you have updated information for any areas that you work in, please complete the form to help us keep the site current. Again, the regulatory map will be getting shared. The link for that will be getting shared in the chat there for you. It's a little bit outdated. We had previously a staff person that was overseeing and monitoring that pretty consistently. So there's been a little bit of a lapse there, and we would love to be able to get that more current. So please help us out with providing some updated content and information for that, if you would. If you have any photos from past conferences, memorable moments in the field of people who are founders of this association, pivotal volunteers, any snapshots of the industry's evolution, we'd love for you to share them with us. We started an initiative prior to the conference this year to try to capture some of those photos as part of a video montage project that we worked on for the conference itself, but we want to keep that going. So we now have a mechanism for collecting photos. Again, the link for that form will be shared in the chat. We want to keep this going. You may see us plug this sporadically, but we'd really love to have more historical photos to be able to have on file for the association and for our community. And last, but certainly not least, our call for presenters for our 2026 conference in Oklahoma City is live. The deadline for that is May the 31st, and the submission link will be getting shared with you in the chat also. That is what I have. Does anybody have any questions? Oh goodness, there's a lot of things in the chat. I'm not sure where we're at here.
A lot of that is links, folks. If you haven't been following along with the chat, our Academy Development Work Group is on top of it. So there's a lot of links in the chat. Many of those links are also in that resources page that we keep mentioning so that you can check those things out later. But what I've seen thus far is mostly links and requests for links.
Okay.
So I think we're good.
Jamie Barrow did ask, is there a place to see the individuals who have been honored with the Memoriam Project? The word that I can't say well.
Yeah, Jamie, good question. We actually just launched that at the conference this year, in addition to paying homage to all of the amazing contributions to our association from Bobby Todd. So we did a bit of a tribute to Bobby, and we launched this project at that time. But since then, we have, I believe, have had one submission from that. So we haven't necessarily collected anything from that yet. It's a new initiative. Are there other questions?
We did also have a question about sharing a link for the video that was shared at the conference.
Yeah, I don't want to speak out of turn here because I'm not a huge social media person, but I know that I approved a post from our social media team to post something on social anyway with sharing that video. But absolutely, we can try to make sure that we get that loaded on our website somehow for people to be able to access that as well if it's not already there. If anyone on the PR and marketing team is on here and knows otherwise, certainly feel free to chime in on that in the chat. Thank you, Matt. I know I saw it somewhere recently.
We'll try to track down the one for Tim Kemp that was done years ago and see if we can post this one near it. But it's going to take a hot minute to find out. If anybody in this group has it, if you guys wouldn't mind sharing that, that would be great.
Yeah, and I see a question here from John Hines too. Has there been any exploration of interest and or feasibility of coordinating a medical insurance program for ACT members? What I can say to this is we had a program. Unfortunately, we did not have a lot of people that adopted that program when we had it. But I can tell you that we have had some different discussions internally. There are some collaborative organizations to do such things, and Brittany and I have been exploring those. We haven't had a chance to really dig into what those look like just yet, so I don't have any detailed information, but it is still on our radar.
I think that's all the questions we've got right now.
Excellent. Well, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to serve the community. And if anybody has anything that they'd like to reach out to me about, please feel free to do so. I'll put my email in the chat so that you can have that easily and readily available. Thank you.
Melissa, I think I could speak to the whole board in saying how much we appreciate you and the work that the staff does. You are amazing. We're so happy to have you around and come such, you've done so much over the many years with us. It's amazing. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So getting back to our meeting agenda, this is where we're going to start wrapping the official part of today's meeting up. As we mentioned a few times, a recording of today's meeting will be available for viewing at any time. We'll post it, but also feel free to share the link to today's event with your colleagues, your clients, and your fellow ACT International members who may not have been able to join us. As mentioned before, this isn't your only opportunity to engage with leadership and hear what's going on with the association. Please feel free to join us for open office hours or listen in on a board meeting. Both of those happen monthly, and links to join those are on our website. The minutes of those board meetings and our financial reports are also available for viewing on the website. And I just got to throw this plug in there. If you're not already an ACT International volunteer, if you're not a volunteer, I know a lot of people on this call are, and I thank all of you for your contributions. But if you've not taken the leap into volunteering, there are lots of opportunities to plug in and make a difference in our industry. The volunteer application, of course, is also on the website. So our recent conference in Cleveland was a fantastic success, and we hope that you will join us for our next one in Oklahoma City. That is happening February 4th to 8th. That's 2026, of course. So Oklahoma City for our next annual conference. And yeah, like I said, I hope you're there. But I also want to thank you for being here as well. We're going to make some space for questions after we wrap this meeting formally. But in the interest of closing the meeting out at this time, can I please get a motion from one of our board members to adjourn the meeting?
This is Leslie. I would make that motion.
Thank you, Leslie.
I'll second, Alicia.
Thank you, Alicia. Any discussion on that motion? Okay. Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, hearing none, motion carries. We are adjourning our annual general meeting, otherwise known as the AGM, at 4:54 p.m. Mountain Time. As I said, that was a really quick overview of the many, probably thousands and tens of thousands of hours of work done by the ACT International volunteers and staff this year. So again, reports are in the resources folder. If you haven't had a chance to look at those, go find those reports. And I want to take a few minutes to again open the floor for questions. If anybody's had a chance to read them and wants to talk about anything they've seen, or if any other chat questions come up in the chat, we'll be happy to do that until, or we can just chat because now we're not officially meeting anymore. So I'm going to take a few minutes to just enjoy these awesome people around my screen now that I don't have to look at my agenda. Thanks, y'all, for being here.
In case someone didn't see, we've opened the ability to unmute, so feel free to unmute and ask questions or chat.
Or we'll sing.
I have a question. Did we get very many volunteer applications from the conference this year?
Question, Micah.
I don't know the exact number, but yes, and they're still very much so coming in. I want to say we've probably gotten 7 to 10. But yeah, we definitely have gotten a few. Usually kind of trickles in for a little while after though.
Great, thanks.
Thanks to you and your wonderful performance.
Rick, while I don't have a fully flushed out answer to your question earlier about impacts to operators, because I think it's still really early in the game and many of us are still kind of trying to evaluate what these changes are going to mean for us. I think it's something we certainly want to pay attention to as an association. It is also true that one of the government relations efforts that we have engaged in is partnering with other organizations like ours to participate in those types of government relations activities. I will on Monday actually be heading to DC to meet with a number of representatives to our government to talk about some of those things. I can say personally as an operator, one of the things that worry me is that, I do operate on federal lands and about 20 Forest Service folks just lost their job this week. So a lot of the people that operate my permits and, clean up my access points and, administer those things are out of a job as of this week. So I know that doesn't fully answer your question, but I think it's still, still a lot going on there for all of us. So we're that's the first thing I can think of.
Yeah, the reason I had asked was that I had read a story earlier today about river operation here in Colorado that was worried about having to shut down because they weren't going to be able to get their permits and inspections and that sort of thing. And they were talking about the impacts not just to them, but to the entire chain of tourism operations that are involved and that are affected by this.
Rick, I'm the chair of the board for a camp that serves kids with disabilities up in Mount Hood in Oregon, and it's on Forest Service property. And we just got word yesterday that we're in the midst of trying to get a whole new building built, and they're going to pull it off for a whole year because all of the people who review permits in that group are gone.
Yeah.
So now we're going to have to wait for at least another year to get that building built, which is it's pretty hard for us as a camp. So certainly happening.
But I'll let you know if we learn anything while we're in DC next week.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to see what the next open office hours has to say about it.
Yeah.
Join us.
I put in the comment or in the chat, Rick, I'm at this finish line of a SBA loan right now for a new an operation, and my anxiety is super high, but I am really curious with all the funding that's been pulled, how that's going to affect SBA loans for kind of new projects, especially in our weird world. Everything that the bank's been kind of saying is you're just weird. You're just kind of a freak of the system. So I'm really curious to see how it goes through with that.
Yeah, it's not good to give them any excuse at all to say you're too weird for us. Yeah.
But I can
Micah,
update you on
just
when I'm
own
at the
it.
finish line. Huh?
Own your weirdness.
Absolutely.
Just put it right on.
Yeah.
Keep Micah weird. We're gonna get bumper stickers.
Matt Marcus here. From a supplier standpoint, we've started getting some word that tariffs are going to start pretty quickly increasing raw good materials, depending where they're sourced from, and that number of countries has widened substantially. So even places like potentially France that used to not have that, now will have that. So I suspect operational gear prices will be increasing.
Yeah.
This is Leslie. I just wanted to acknowledge in the chat, there was a great question that just got asked about if someone wants to post some content in the newsletter, does it need to be something that wouldn't post somewhere else? Like what if API is also interested in picking it up, or if it was previously published? So I will leave others to answer it. I just wanted to acknowledge that it popped in the chat.
Rick, how does that work in your world? If articles that were previously posted in API get reposted in apt, is that a thing that can happen?
I think that we should be able to make that happen very easily. I'd love to have our stuff posted in the newsletter.
Cool. I'm assuming those would need to come from you or your permissions. Do you guys own one, Jeff?
Yeah, but like I said, and it's easy for me to say I would like to see it done because I don't own the company, but I don't think
Right.
Olivia would have any objection either, and she does
Yeah.
own the company, so
Yeah.
I think that would be an easy thing to arrange.
Great. Thanks for that support.
So, quick follow-up to my question that I put in the chat is if someone has information or an article or something that we think is valuable to the industry as whole, how do we, like, I haven't been able to identify the submission process to even getting something looked at by API. So is there a process to publishing any of this stuff in things that we are associated with here so that people can share the knowledge that they have with other folks around the world, maybe?
Christina, I thought I heard you say ACCT and API. Which are you referring to both of them?
Yeah, I think like right now we have the newsletter as the primary external facing kind of publications, but looking at what other publications there are out there, whether it's API or other stuff, trying to find how to get articles published is sometimes really challenging. Like I haven't been able to find it, at least recently, on the API website as to like how I even submit something for review.
That is a very good question because it should be really easy. You should, back when we used to print actual physical magazines, not too long ago, we published all of our email addresses right in the issue, which should make it fairly easy for people to find out how to get in touch with us. If there is not a way on the website at the moment, I will take that up with the powers that be and make sure there is. It would make my job a lot easier if people were getting in touch with me with story ideas instead of compelling me to try to get on the phone or reach out with email to get in touch with people and track them down. It's much easier if you know when you're available to get in touch with me. It's my job to be available for this sort of thing.
Yeah. And back to the chat, Leslie posted for us a reminder that if you have content for the ACT newsletter, Brittany is the staff member that liaisons with the group that can make that happen. And Brittany's email is in, and she helps us put that together, the newsletter. So if you have any ideas or have some content, you can start there. Thanks for reposting that, Alexis. Brittany's email is in the chat now.
I just posted my email in there in case anybody needs it or wants it. You can throw darts at it if you want. I think I managed to type it correctly.
Alexis, anything outstanding in the chat or other questions that we need to get to?
Nothing outstanding in the chat.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, are there any other board members that wanted to chime in before we wrapped up at least the recording portion of this evening's event? All right. Hearing none, John, I think we're safe to cut the recording. It gives us a good hour to post later. And appreciate all of you being here this evening.
Thank you very much, Corey. I appreciate you taking the putting this together. Nice job.
Yeah, thanks, y'all.
Good job.
Okay. Well, if there isn't anything else, I don't often get to end a meeting early, so we're very
Let's have her hand raised.
so proud of us. Oh yeah, thanks, Micah. What you got?
Yeah. Heather just posted go record your CEUs from the conference in your portfolio, but I need a tutorial because I did all the little thingies and I don't know how to get to it now. The ones that I recorded, the little numbers that we typed in. So can you give me some instructions?
I can try.
Heather, newsletter article, Heather, newsletter instructional video.
We will, from my understanding, when you go to the app, down at the bottom, there's the three dots where you went to check in. You do that and you go to your past schedule and it has all the ones that you checked in.
No, I had all of them. I can't tell which ones I checked into or not.
Just put them all in your portfolio.
Yeah. I
Maybe
didn't go
done
to
in no
all of them.
time.
So it's almost like there's just all of them. And that's where I can't tell what I did.
I will find the answer and I will send it out to all inspectors that I have an email for.
Perfect. Thanks. I did try. I just it didn't work for me. So that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And ops reviewers, right? They need CEUs.
Correct, yeah.
I think newsletter / LMS instruction. Thanks, Micah, for pointing out that we don't have it.
Yeah, and when we do those little trainings, it'd be nice if we could integrate this technology into those trainings too, so that anytime we do something kind of hosted at the conference or hosted even throughout the year, if we can track it somewhere else besides just our portfolio, so that when we forget or when I forget, I can go look it up. I liked the system.
That will be possible in the LMS.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But the LMS isn't connected to the app, right?
Correct.
Okay, so great.
Big snowman. I made a snowman. I made a snowman with a boy.
Yes, made a snowman.
Who's that?
Oh.
Sorry, y'all. That's my little. I accidentally hit unmute and he's over here making Play-Doh snowmen. Clearly.
Nice.
Mhm. That's awesome.
I thought it was Luke, but then he's older than that. As time flies. Oh.
Do we know where we're going to go to the conference after Oklahoma City yet?
Nothing is confirmed yet, but we have something in process, yes.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah. Leaning towards going back west. Corey, did you share the date of the next office hours when you were saying that?
No, I didn't.
To connect because
Yeah, we just settled on that today, so we haven't put that out in the newsletter yet. But, yeah, what is that date?
You know, when you facilitate groups and it gets quiet for a moment, you just stare at each other, wait for something to happen.
Yeah. March 26th. March, is that right? March. Yeah, March 26th is our next open office hours.
So I mentioned that I thought this year's conference was really, really good. I really appreciated it. I thought there were great connections. I heard nothing but fabulous things about the workshops, the high quality. Usually I hear that, but then I also hear like, oh yeah, but this one was horrible. I left. I heard none of that this year. Every workshop somebody told me about, they thought it was great and excellent and amazing and above their expectations. And I would be curious, isn't just me that noticed these things? Did you guys notice some positive stuff in the conference this year? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Alexa said thumbs up.
I actually got to go to a couple of workshops this year, so that was fun.
That's awesome. Well, bye, Michelle. I feel like we should dance or something. It's getting too quiet in here. Dance.
Jamie,
But
great to see you, Jamie.
You offered to sing earlier too.
Yeah, I don't dance in public. Oh wait, I do. I remember now.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna get to work.
Yeah.
We'll see you all later.
Probably. Yeah. I'm gonna sign off as well. It's good to see everybody. Thank you for your time this evening. Good to see your faces.